What's going on, guys? Apathettic here with all your tips, recommendations, and everything in between. And in today's Destiny 2 video, I'm going to be covering step by step how to improve your aim on PC. Aim is something players struggle with regularly and is often something they don't spend enough time improving. Mastering basic elements like aim are important because everything else you do layers on top of it. Meaning if you haven't perfected your aim, then things you try to add to your game will never be as good as they could be. So in order to help perfect our aim, we are going to break down the main elements that impact our aim the most. And that's going to be sensitivity, mouse, movement, how you practice, and game sense. Many Guardians have mastered one or two of these elements, but when one is missing, it can make us a less complete player. So if you're looking to improve every aspect of your aim, then this is the video for you. The last thing I'll add is I also stream on Twitch, so make sure you drop a follow using the link below so you can see more gameplay like this live. With that, let's get into it. Starting with sensitivity, this is usually the first thing that players start adjusting when trying to improve their aim, and the first thing it's important to do when adjusting your sensitivity is finding a baseline. What this means is finding a sensitivity that feels relatively good, then fine-tuning from there. What I recommend doing for PC is finding a sensitivity that allows you to move your mouse from left to right and has your character do a 180. It's important to establish this sensitivity because we don't want to choose a sensitivity that will be so slow that we have trouble snapping at targets behind us or moving our mouse off our mouse pad while aiming at targets that are higher in the air. Put more simply, this allows us to track quickly and efficiently before we aim in on an opponent. Often people only adjust their base sensitivity and then they make it very low, and then their 1v1 gunfights are solid, but they struggle with tracking enemies and getting the first shot on faster, more aggressive opponents. So jump into a private match and find a sensitivity that lets you get at least close to achieving this 180 turn comfortably. The next part of fine-tuning your sensitivity is your ADS sensitivity, and personally, this is what made a dramatic difference in my aim. ADS sensitivity is a percentage of your base sensitivity for how fast you turn while ADS. What this does is once we've settled on a base sensitivity that's comfortable, this allows us to turn at a decent speed when we use our ADS sense to either speed up or slow down our turn speed when ADSing. This gives us the best of both worlds. I'm able to look around 180 or snap the targets relatively quickly. Then with an adjusted ADS speed, once I snap to a target in ADS, my sensitivity can feel slightly slower, allowing for more accurate, finer adjustments when trying to land shots on an opponent's head. How I adjusted to find my perfect sense was analyzing a lot of my own gameplay, and more specifically my hand cannon duels. I would watch these duels in slow motion and pay close attention to my accuracy when ADSing and my ability to make those finer adjustments. What I found was my tracking and look around speed and hipfire was good, but my finer adjustments when I ADS were off, which tells me my ADS sense needed some adjusting. By simply lowering my ADS sense 1 and doing some more games, I found that was just a slight adjustment that I needed to make me way more accurate. It's an easy trap to fall into when trying to improve your aim, to automatically go to a much lower base sense and really hurt our ability to snap the targets effectively. Make sure you're adjusting your base sensitivity along with your ADS sensitivity, as it may be the small change your aim was missing. Our next topic for improving our aim on PC is making sure we have a mouse that is most comfortable for our style of grip. When gaming on PC, there are a variety of different grips you can use to influence your aim in different ways. Some grips offer better control, while others can be better suited for more precise aiming. Taking the time to find out what grip is not only most comfortable for you, but also allows you to perform the best can be extremely helpful for improving your aim. Looking at the image on the screen, you can see I have the most common grip styles for mouse and keyboard, but it's important to know that there's also hybrids of these grips that exist. Certain mice feel better for claw grip, while other mice are better suited for palm grip. An example of this on my previous mouse was due to the shape I would have my aim thrown off when throwing a grenade, since the mouse was slightly too large for my hand. By going to a slightly smaller mouse, I'm able to now throw grenades and melee without losing any accuracy. The most important thing when going through this process is whatever grip and mouse you choose, you need to keep it consistent. The more you change grips or your mouse, the more impact your muscle memory will be, and you'll spend all your time adjusting and readjusting to these changes. Take the time to pair your grip with the optimal mouse that helps make your aim feel more natural, consistent, and can help fight fatigue in longer gaming sessions. The next key aspect of improving your aim involves movement. Movement is one of the key indicators of a player's overall skill level, and is one of the biggest separators between good and great players. But what people often don't realize is how your movement also influences your aim. Especially in a game like Destiny 2, where being shot more flinches your character, it's key that we enhance our movement to make our opponents miss and help our opening shot accuracy. We do this by sliding at all times. By constantly sliding around the map, this makes our character much harder to track by snipers or opponents who are trying to land a shot on us. The next part is, anytime you're coming out of cover to challenge an enemy, you want to slide out of cover. By sliding out of cover, it makes it harder for our enemy to track on that initial shot. If we line up our shot shot correctly and sets us up to land that first shot on our opponents. In order to line up your shot correctly, we're going to rely heavily on our radar to generate an educated guess on where our opponents will be. This is something that takes a little practice, but once you master it, will greatly increase the amount of 1v1 duels we can win. This method is why it's so important to not have a sensitivity that's too low, since for this maneuver it can make it a little harder to acquire your target initially. Another aspect of movement in relation to our aim is mastering peek shotting. Peek shotting is when you peek out of cover and almost simultaneously fire a shot, then go back behind cover as your enemy returns fire. This allows us to do consistent damage to our opponent from what I call a position of strength. We have the advantage in this scenario since the opponent doesn't know when we are going to pop out of cover, and if we start to lose a fight, we can simply go back behind cover to escape. But more importantly, this allows us to have a more consistent aim, since with peek shotting, you get a good sense of where your enemy is and using that information to make us more accurate. Peek shotting gives us time between shots to line up our shot as we are coming out to land as many headshots as possible. This tip doesn't just apply to peek shotting, but just in general to movement around the map. You always want to be near cover. The closer you are to cover, the better off your fights will go, since you'll always have that cover to line up your shot and show less of your character, making it harder for your enemy to land their shots. This keeps us from getting into situations where we are caught on the open and the opponent is now the one using the cover against us. This takes us to our next topic, which is practice, and more importantly, how you practice. When focusing on improving our aim, it's often consistency people struggle most with, which stems from a lack of practice. Luckily, there are multiple ways to practice training your aim. Two of the aim training programs I've used in the past are AimLab and Kovacs. Both of these aim trainers offer lots of options and ways you can help improve specific mechanics of your aim. They both offer different training routines depending on what aspect of your aim you feel is lacking the most. Routines for flicking are typically great for people looking to improve their sniping and ability to quickly flick to someone's head, consistently landing those quick headshots. You then have routines for tracking, which can be great for weapons like auto rifles or SMGs. I personally enjoy using the close long strafes and Kovacs, since I found my tracking for closer targets was one of my weak points, and it also helped my tracking using a shotgun. For overall precision and just a general warm up for my aim, I also use one wall 6 targets to warm up my shot and generate more consistency on how quickly I can switch between targets accurately. I'll add that with aim trainers like Kovacs, it's very easy to overdo it and overtrain. This leads to pain or discomfort in your elbow, shoulder, or fingers, and may actually become detrimental to your aim overall if you're not careful. My best recommendation here is making sure you're scheduling a couple of hours a week for these trainers, but listen to your body, and if you find you're having some aches and pains, consider lessening the amount of time in these programs. How we practice also ties into our next topic, which is game sense. You could have the highest scores in a game like Kovacs and have incredible aim. That will never make up for a lack of game sense in the game you're trying to excel at. Game sense is an enormous topic and touches on a million things within Destiny, but involves a couple of things that will impact how effective our aim is. I'll also point out that there is no silver bullet for quickly improving your game sense. It's something that's gained from putting tons of time into your game of choice. By increasing our game sense, it allows us to do things like better predict our enemies' movements around the map, spawns, the most advantageous parts of the map, how many supers the enemy team will have, etc. All these have an effect on how effective we can be in game, and even with the best aim, it's going to be hard to win duels against a player who is better at predicting your movements or is constantly catching you out of position. A good example of this is when I play other games outside of Destiny. My aim is usually pretty spot on, but since my game sense isn't developed in that specific game, I often get caught out of position or running into multiple enemies at once. This is because I don't have a good sense of how enemies typically move around a given map, spawn points, all the things I mentioned previously. But for Destiny 2, as you're playing, try to take note of common areas where the enemies spawn in relation to you and your teammates. Doing this allows you to slowly recognize patterns and how the spawn system works in relation to other players. This not only helps you in predicting enemy movement, but also when you respawn, you have a better idea of how to safely exit your own spawn. Furthermore, it also helps you become better at something like pre-aiming, since pre-aiming is primarily focused at having a good idea of where an enemy is going to appear in the lane and giving you the best chance at landing the first shot with as much accuracy as possible. Remember that even if you follow all the tips in this guide, that if your game sense is still developing, it will take time before you truly see the results of the time you put in to improve your aim. Ultimately, it's important to remember that aim is something that is always a work in progress. You're never going to get to a point where you never miss a shot or always have the best reaction time. But by fine-tuning your sensitivity, choosing the right mouse, practicing your movement, being intentional with how you practice, and simultaneously improving your game sense, you can continue to improve your aim in a reliable way, and once you do that, you'll notice the ripple effect it has on the rest of your game. Continue to practice and be patient with yourself, and remember, even the most skilled Destiny 2 players have bad aiming days and miss easy shots. No one was born with perfect accuracy, except cheaters. So stick to it, stay consistent, and be patient, and you guys will improve your aim in no time. And if you're looking to further complement your improved aim with some sick builds to take your gameplay to the next level, make sure you check out the videos on the screen to make sure your loadouts are setting you up for success and you have the optimal stats for your favorite class. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, as it's a free way to support me, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.